Welcome to Mom News. I'm your host, Informative Mother Flower. Listen, this past month has been extremely challenging, especially if you're a parent that has been dealing with this transitioning from sending your child off to school to be taught by educators to turning your home into a classroom and taking on homeschooling. I myself have three children whom are different ages and different grades. They have been immersed into the program, and it has been so stressful, not just for me but for them as well. I'm almost positive that teachers freaked out as well, especially early on. Child, parent, and teachers, we all had to learn a completely brand new system and find a way to adapt to a whole new way of learning in just under a week. You know what? I feel that my children and I are starting to get to a place where we understand and are becoming more comfortable with the newfound learning experience. But one thing that I have noticed week after week is that the majority of kids, especially my kids' classmates, are nowhere to be found. Out of a class of maybe 25, I see anywhere between 6 and 14 students logged in participating. A couple of weeks ago, the New York Times did an article, and the article is here. It says, as schools move online, many students stay logged out. It says teachers at some schools across the country report that fewer than half of their students are participating in online learning. And honestly, this could be for a lot of different reasons. If you read the areas it goes into, a lot of kids don't have access to the internet. A lot of kids don't have access to computers. It gives various different reasons on why a lot of kids just aren't able to participate in this newfound learning experience. The article states even before this whole outbreak took place, the issue with kids showing up for school. It says, especially with those of low income students, many obstacles can prevent children who live in poverty from making it to class, a parent's broken down car, for example, or teenagers who need to babysit their siblings. But online learning presents new obstacles, particularly with uneven levels of technology and adult supervision. And I totally agree with the adult supervision because I have to stay close and next to my kids to the point where we've come up with a schedule where they work on an hour of math, they're working on an hour of reading, an hour history. We have to break it down, and I have to be there going back and forth with them, bouncing ideas of them. It's a lot. You're taking on, as a parent, you are truly taking on the role as a teacher. As a parent, anyway, you're already a teacher, but now what you're doing is you're instilling values that your kids are going to need to go to the next grade. Those values being math, those values being vocabulary, learning how to look things up in a dictionary, science, history, things that you may not be particularly interested in. The article goes on to say that the scale of the challenge and the work that will need to be done to catch children up academically and socially is huge. Michael, he's executive director at the Council of Great City Schools, a network of urban education systems. He called the prospect of unfinished learning from this time a serious issue that could have implications for years. There is no precedent in educator memories for what is happening right now. Schools have weathered disruptive events like Hurricane Katrina and California wildfires, but those disasters were limited to a shorter time period and smaller regions. During the coronavirus pandemic, every state in the country has been ordered or recommended of closing schools in many cases through the end of the year. By now, all states have declared that the kids will not be going back to school. It's over. The kids are not going back to school. I know in the South, kids are usually out May, towards the end of May, sometimes early June. More up north, they get out towards the middle of June. So these kids are kind of winding down to their last semester of school. And it's crunch time. This is like the bottom of the barrel of the last thing that these kids can do to try to move forward to the last grade. Michael goes on to say many skills build one on another. If a child misses out on some key ideas, then all of a sudden, additional ideas as they're introduced just become Greek. We will need some kind of beginning of the year diagnostics to try to figure out where the kids are and how much they have lost. And it's that right there that leads me to believe that what they're going to end up doing is passing kids along due to this epidemic. Whether they were doing the work or not, they're going to end up trying to figure out some way to pass these kids along. What is the bottom line? If that's not going to happen, what's going to happen? We already realized some kids don't have access to the internet. Some don't have computers, laptops, or tablets. Some parents don't even speak English, creating a huge language barrier. Some parents are still working, and by the time they come home, they have to cook, clean, do laundry, and could just be tired and don't want to be bothered. And there's that wonderful, magnificent cloud of the parents that just don't care. The parents that are more interested in drinking and having a good time and watching TV than sitting down and helping their kids. What is going to happen to these kids? What about the testing that they do at the end of the year? Are they going to give the kids a test at the end of the year to see if maybe perhaps they could get passed along? And what are they going to do, or how are they going to determine who graduates for the children that are in graduating grades? I'm telling you, I have a strong feeling that articles like this are preparing us to accept the fact that they are probably going to have every child move forward to the next grade, despite the fact that they've done nothing. And I have to be honest. Do I think that's fair? Absolutely not. I don't think it's fair, especially for me and my children that have been working hard day in and day out, trying to learn the system, trying to stay on top of everything. But please believe I am sympathetic to those that have serious issues that may limit them from helping their child. But with that being said, I guarantee you no child will be left back. They're going to sit back. They're going to look at things like this. They're going to sit there and talk to teachers. They're going to really look because the online system is connected. The school board in your district and the city, they're all going to have to start doing numbers. Who was there? How many kids participated this week? They're getting all that data. And at the end of the year, they're going to sit back and look at this and they're going to realize that the number is so low that it's going to be even more complicated just to hold kids back. And I guarantee you, if you have a good majority of kids, if you have 25 kids in a class, and out of those 25, only 5 to 10 are moving forward because they did the online learning, you're going to have the parents that weren't able to give their child what they needed or help their child. They're going to start writing. They're going to say, look, this isn't fair. It's not my fault that this virus happened. It's not my fault that this whole epidemic happened. I didn't shut down the school. You did. So why should my child have to suffer? Passing everyone along is going to make people happy. Passing all these kids along is going to bring peace, and that's what they want. It's not so much they care whether or not the kid knows what's going on. They want to try to clean up this mess as quick as possible. And he already says it here. He says we're going to need to try to figure out some diagnosis to figure out where kids are. But honestly, kids already do that. In the beginning of every school year, kids usually take tests to kind of see where they are, what they know, what they remember from the summertime. And usually the teacher spends about a month going over everything they learned the year before. So, I mean, that's nothing new. That's nothing new because the majority of the time, if the child has already learned it, they may have forgotten it. But once you go back over it, they're like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, 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 you do that. Yeah, yeah. They kind of get an idea of what's going on. But if they've never learned it and they may have a handicap when it comes to math, it may take longer than a month for that child to get 4 or 5 different new type of math ideas or math lessons. Same thing with reading. A lot of kids aren't where they need to be when it comes to reading on their grade level. So this whole thing is going to be one big mess. But like I said, I totally think that um these kids are going to get passed along. They're going to pass along everybody. And I'm also curious to know what they're going to do with the kids that are graduating this year. Are they going to maybe next year hold some type of ceremony for those kids? I think that'd be an awesome idea, especially the kids that are in high school and college. Parents are looking forward to seeing their kids walk across the stage. So hopefully they'll be able to figure out something to do for those kids. But in the meantime, tell me what your thoughts are. What do you think? Do you think that the kids will get kept back? If so, if they do get kept back to the internet, laptops, all that we talked about, or will they give everyone a break and move them forward? But if they do that, is that helping anybody? Is that putting more pressure on the teacher? Is that putting more pressure on the student? Is it fair? Let me know your thoughts on this entire crazy situation. Comment below. Thanks for checking me out. Ciao.